Hi again, everybody. I'm Rob Rosenthal with AskTheLawyers.com, and welcome to another episode of Ask the Lawyer. Construction jobs are among the most dangerous jobs in the United States, and an unfortunate number of injuries and deaths that occur on construction sites happen not because a worker did something wrong, but because the conditions at the work site were unsafe. And according to OSHA, the leading cause of death for construction workers is falls, often because of inadequate fall protection. So today we're going to ask the lawyer about what recourse construction workers have after an on-site injury. And here to answer our questions is attorney Ben Dominguez of the Houston-based Ben Dominguez Law Firm. He's very familiar with how common fall-related injuries and deaths are in the construction industry. Ben, thank you for taking some time to be with us today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
So what are some, in your experience, what are some of the most common violations that you see in construction accident cases? What's happening out there?
Well, as you know, Texas is a growing state. Houston's a growing city. We're the fourth largest city in the United States. And with that comes a lot of construction, high rises, apartment buildings, homes, and all those are covered by OSHA. And during the course of the construction of high rises of the homes or any of the residents, a lot of the workers are falling and hurting themselves, whether it's from the first floor, second floor, or 10th floor. And some of those are the safety concerns that we have as lawyers assisting our clients.
And sometimes those are just accidents. It's something happens. Maybe the construction worker didn't follow safety rules, but other times there's something wrong. The equipment, the safety equipment is not there or isn't working right?
Well, our contention is always going to be all accidents and injuries are preventable.
Right.
And if the construction worker wasn't following safety rules, most likely it's because they weren't trained properly. And that's some of the issues that come in play with the OSHA. Let me give you an example. If you have a contractor who's building a 3-story apartment building, that contractor is going to have responsibilities to train its employees or independent contractors as to what the safety rules and regulations they want you to follow are. OSHA is flexible with respect to that, but it's somewhat rigid in that if you're working above 6 feet, whether it's the first floor or 10 feet above the second floor, you have OSHA regulations that come into play that protect the workers from falling. They obligate the contractor, the employer, to provide you safety mechanisms so you don't fall and hurt yourself. They obligate the contractor to provide you safety tools that prevent you from falling and then therefore hurting yourself.
If someone falls and is injured and has a claim, is it different if they are an employee of the contractor or if they are themselves contract labor? Does that change things?
Well, it can. A lawyer who is prepared when they have a case, they can work around any of the defenses that the contractor may have. Right now, the contractor, what they do is they call everyone an independent contractor, and so they use that to avoid liability, or they use that to avoid having to compensate the injured party for their injuries or the medical bills. And a prepared lawyer will find a way to work around the independent contractor status. It takes time, it takes some work, but it can definitely be done.
Now, sometimes we are talking about workers' compensation. You mentioned compensation just now. Workers' compensation can be also, is it something you can claim in addition to the injury claim, or do you have to choose one or the other? How does that work?
Good question. In Texas, if your direct employer, for instance, has workers' compensation, and your direct employer, it was their conduct that caused you to fall, and they have workers' comp, then that's going to be your only exclusive remedy. That's it. It's nothing you can do. You can't go to court. You can't sue your employer. However, let me give you an example that, let's say you are a plumber and you work for a plumbing company. You're putting plumbing together. You walk up to the second floor and you fall. And you fall because there wasn't scaffolding or there wasn't safety net or some other protective device to prevent you from falling. Well, the contractor, usually in this case, it may be the framer, they will be responsible for not providing you fall protection, putting you on the second floor without safety nets, or putting you on the second floor without guardrails or without scaffold. In that case, back to your original question, in that case, if your employer has workers' comp, you still have the ability to sue the framing contractor for their role that led to you falling from the second floor and breaking your leg or your back or your neck or whatever the case is.
So I want to make sure I understand. So you're saying in Texas, if I'm a direct employee and my employer didn't provide the proper safety gear, safety protection, and I get injured, I can't sue them beyond just workers' comp and they pay for my injuries and my care? I can't sue for that negligence?
Yeah, again, the workers' comp law is designed to protect the worker. And it's good in that light. But also, it takes the worker's right and their ability to sue their direct employer if their employer was negligent. Okay? Now, you're asking a different question. Whose responsibility was it to provide fall prevention? In your question, you're kind of assuming, it's assumed that the direct employer, it was their responsibility as a plumber. Our position and our job is going to be to prove that it was a framing contractor's job, responsibility, and duty to provide you the fall prevention items and techniques that would lead to you doing your job safely.
Let's say,
just real quick, a lot of times you're going to have to turn to the contract between the framing contractor and the plumbing contractor.
Let's say there's an undocumented worker who's on a construction site and is injured in a fall. What are their rights? What is their recourse? I would imagine sometimes they're hesitant to seek recourse. What happens then?
That's a good question. Because there, as everyone knows, so many of the undocumented workers, people without proper status, are doing a lot of the construction work. And it's a variety of reasons. They're skilled labor. Perhaps they will work for a lesser wage, and perhaps that helps the profits of the contractor or the company. Whatever the case is, if you're undocumented, you still have the same rights and protections as an American citizen does. That's what the laws are here in Texas.
What is your advice to someone who is on a job site, is injured in a construction site on a fall? What are the steps that you advise them to take? What sort of time frame should they do things in? Walk me through that.
Most importantly, when you get hurt, seek medical attention. That is the number one first thing you should do. If you hit your head and you're unconscious, you need to go to the hospital. Don't get up, brush it off, and say, I'm okay. Go to the hospital. Let the hospital use their doctors to determine how you are. After that's done, after you figure out what your medical problems are, the next thing is to contact an attorney who has experience in these areas. An attorney with experience can help you with potential problems you have with your employer, potential problems with having to take off work, potential problems with identifying who the proper party is that was responsible for whatever event led to your injuring yourself. That's the second most important thing. So again, first, medical attention. Second, legal advice.
And how important is it to contact an attorney who's got experiences and familiar with this particular field? Is that important to find?
Yes, it is. Construction-related accidents, the area of law regarding construction accidents is not necessarily tricky, but an attorney has to have experience and they have to be prepared for the defenses the contractors have available to use in court. And when you go to court, you have to be prepared. You have to do your research, you have to know your facts, you have to read the contracts, and you have to have good communication with your client as to what was going on at the construction site at the time of the accident.
Right.
It's important information.
Ben, thank you so much. I think you've given us a lot of important information today. I appreciate you making some time for us.
Thank you for your time.
That's going to do it for this episode of Ask the Lawyer. My guest has been attorney Ben Dominguez of the Houston-based Ben Dominguez Law Firm. If you want the best information on construction and accidents and injuries, or you're ready to choose a lawyer that lawyers choose, be sure to visit askthelawyer.com. And if you get a second, please click on the button at the bottom of the screen to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm Rob Rosenthal with AskTheLawyers.com.